Okay, so here we are with the second phase of this past paper, that is 961811 May June 23. Coming towards question number 4, what does the question number 4 says? It says a network closed circuit television CCTV system in a house uses sensor and a camera to detect the presence of a person. It then tracks the person and records a video of their movement. Data from the CCTV cameras is transmitted to a central computer. This computer has both read-only memory ROM and a random access memory RAM. Describe the contents of the ROM in the central computer. Okay, so what will be there in the ROM? So obviously ROM is a permanent sort of the memory. So it will be storing two major things. That is the BIOS, or you may say the boot up section of a system, as well as the kernel of an operating system. So you could write it down over here. ROM is permanent. So it will store BIOS of a system and a kernel of an OS or operating system. You may write it down. Okay, the central computer has a dynamic RAM, DRAM. Identify two advantages of using the dynamic RAM instead of an static RAM. Okay, now you need to tell that what is the benefit of a DRAM instead of a dynamic RAM. So obviously, if it's a dynamic RAM, so what will be there? It will be costing low as compared to the SRAM, as well as there will be a higher storage density as well. So you may write it down. Higher storage density. And the other one you can write it down, cost less. Okay, you could also write it down that it may process the heavier data as compared to the SRAM, because we are utilizing the DRAMs when we need to process the heavy graphics and all. Okay, now they are saying for the part B, the central computer stores video files on a secondary storage. That means your hard drives. Describe two reasons why magnetic storage more appropriate than a solid state storage for this computer. Okay, now that means they are saying that why the hard drives are better than a SSD. So SSDs by hard drive. So a hard drive is something that could have a large number of the read and write operations, uh, as it's not having any sort of the longevity issue, as well as the cost of the magnetic storage is comparatively quite low in comparison to the solid state drives over here. So you could write it down. Or you could write it down in this manner. Cost of magnetic storage is quite low in comparison sorry, I wrote the spelling wrong. In comparison to solid state drives. Okay, now what could be the other thing? It could have large number of read and write operations. It could have large number of the read and write operations as no issue of longevity. Okay. Part C. What does the part C says? A CCTV system uses AI to identify the presence of a person in the house and to track their movements. Describe how AI is used in this system. So it could utilize the image recognition method. It could utilize the movements of a person as well. Okay. It could, you may say, utilize or it may record the things, and it could utilize it later on as well. So there are 3 points that we need to mention it down. So we could get write it down. Uses image recognition method as well as could store the data and can also check for movement and weight of a particular person. So this is how an AI could work, because obviously the sensors are applied over here as well. So AI could take the help from it. Okay, coming towards D part 1. The CCTV cameras are connected to a network and transfer their data wirelessly to the central computers. Each device on the network has an IP address. Okay, now do remember it's a wireless one. Okay, an IP version 4 address contains dash groups. So how many groups are there? Having a look on class C. For example, if I do say 192.168.1.1, so there are 4 groups of digits over there. We do have a question, I think so. Instant solution of the problem related to the system. And as an extra point, you can write it down better, but not at the actual answer. Okay. Each group. Okay, coming back, an IP version 4 address contains 4 group of digits. Each group is represented in dash bits. So how many bits are over there for each group? So for each group, there are 8 bits. So overall, there are 32 bits in IPv version 4. And the groups are separated by a full stop. An IPv version 6 address contains dash group of digits. So it includes 8 group of digits, and each group is represented in 16 bits because it is utilizing hexa to remember it. Multiple groups that only contain zeros can be replaced by a double colon. So double colon can, as we just studied that part in the zero compression. Okay. Okay, now coming towards the next part. Okay, for the next part, they do say the network makes use of subnetting. Describe 2 benefits of subnetting a network. Okay, now the 2 major benefits of subnetting a network is something that you do not need to buy multiple static IPs. Number one, it could be the thing. The other one could be the thing that it could allow easier maintenance. It could reduce the amount of the traffic in a network as well. It may improve the security of the network as well. So these could be multiple points. Okay. So number one, you could write it down. Reduce amount of a traffic in a network. Number one. Other point you can write it down. Can be cost effective. More secured. Uh, Allow for easier maintenance. So these could be few of the things that you could write it over here. Okay, now moving to next question that is regarding the logic gates, and it's question number 5. It says draw the logic circuit for this logic expression. So they are saying T is equivalent to not A or B XOR C NAND D. Okay, do remember one thing, that by default each and every input and an output is on 1. So to convert an input into a 0 or not, we need to apply a NOT gate over there. So they are saying, first of all, not A no, or B. That means we need to apply a NOT gate over A. The output from this NOT is going into the OR gate, and the other output for the OR is coming from B. Okay, one statement is done. The other statement says C NAND D. Okay, C NAND D. Okay, now the outputs from these gates are actually combining together by a XOR gate. So this is how you need to make this gate. So that's for the 2 marks. Do remember, that's not O levels now that you will be awarded with 1 mark for each gate. No, it's overall for 2 marks. Okay, now they are saying describe the function of the NAND and the NOR logic gates. So NAND gate says that output will be high. Sorry, output will be low if all the inputs are high. So you can write it down. Output will be low or will be 0. Will be 0 if all inputs are 1. Otherwise, 1. That means an output will be 1 after it. Okay. Or you can just write it down over here. Inputs are 1. No need for the otherwise part. Okay. For the NOR gate. So it says output will be 0 if any or all of the inputs are 1. All of the inputs are 1. So this is the functionality of a NOR gate. Okay, now coming to the next question. That's question number 6. What does the question number 6 says? It's for the 5 marks. Now, what does it say? An interrupt is generated when a key is pressed on a computer keyboard. Explain how the computer handles this interrupt. Okay, now do remember, as soon as an interrupt is generated, so the flag is raised. Okay, now once the flag is raised, so the system is going to halt any of the process that it is working on, and it will save the progress of that particular thing. Okay, once it is saved, now the interrupt will be handled. Once the interrupt has been handled, it will check for any other interrupt. If there is so it will handle it. If not, so from that saved part, it will continue further to process that particular data. So this is how you need to write it down. As an interrupt is generated, system just a second. I think so. There is a glitch in my system. Okay, just a second, guys, please. Okay, have it resolved. Okay, so as an interrupt is generated, system stops stops executing stops executing the process it stores the current status of a process and executes the interrupt. Once an interrupt has been handled, system will look forward for any other interrupt, will look for any other interrupt. If there is, it will process. Otherwise, system will continue with the halted process whose status was saved. So this is all for this paper. We'll look forward you We'll be looking forward for you guys in the next session. Thank you so much for joining today. Allah Hafiz.